All right, let's move over to the Rose Bowl. I love the Rose Bowl. It's the absolute best. It's always like a picture perfect day in Southern California. The Indiana Rose Bowl gear is incredible. It's
It is.
perfect.
It really is.
Every Rose Bowl, like all the logos, everything is perfect. But I don't know. It's just something with like the Indiana and the fact that they haven't been
I
here.
will say, a couple years ago, those Michigan throwback jerseys with the rose on them.
Those were good.
I mean, like the Rose Bowl gives you a great opportunity to have elite gear. And Indiana has not missed any opportunity to have some of the best merch that you could see.
100%. And our friends at Home Field have absolutely crushed it. Like I was like, should I get this? And I was like, why would I wear an Indiana Rose Bowl jacket ever? I don't know. But it was very enticing. This game is going to be great. I mean, there's so many narratives around Alabama playing Indiana. The game is at 4:00 Eastern on January 1st. As always, we will get the sun setting over the San Gabriel Mountains. This is like this held up playoff expansion. So to make sure that they get this time slot year in and year out, it's going to be picturesque. It's going to be great. It's a game that features Alabama's football team and Indiana's football team, and Indiana's football team is favored.
Amazing.
I just want to make sure that we underscore that. That's the craziest part about all of this. Then you have all the familiarity with the staff, right? Curt Cignetti spent 5 years under Nick Saban when he first got to Alabama and started to build this thing up. On the other side, Kalen DeBoer, his defensive coordinator, Kane Womack, Nick Sheridan, all of these guys were together at Indiana in 2019, which was a recent high point.
Yes.
Until now.
That was like the first renaissance of Indiana football.
Michael Penix Jr. and the right. It was like that's when 9-win Indiana began. This idea that like maybe someday they can win 9 games. Now they're undefeated, the number 1 seed in the college football playoff, playing at the Rose Bowl. So awesome from a narrative standpoint, and just like what it would mean for Indiana as they're trying to really change their history in college football to go through Alabama to do that, right? What are the actual keys to the game, though? Like, what does Indiana need to do to play their game? Like, because we always talk about how prepared they are, how solid they are. They don't beat themselves. So what do they need to do to kind of control this one against Alabama?
So I'll say this is I feel like they're in, it was a lot of it was Nick Saban, and it still holds to this day. There is this feeling that college football in a lot of ways has to run through Alabama to a certain extent. When we won in 2014, we played them in the semifinal, and that was a big deal for us, was beating the king of the SEC. And we just talked about Michigan in their Rose Bowl, and like that was a big deal, was beating Alabama en route to a title. And now you have Indiana, which I love the way you said, trying to change their football history and doing it against Alabama, Nick Saban or not, regardless of what that is, like that feels big, especially to guys in the locker room as they're gearing up for it. So very excited for this opportunity. For Indiana to be successful, I think they've just got to be what they've been all year long. And to me, it starts a lot on defense. And I mentioned the structure of that defense, and they're going to be without Daly, who got hurt in the Big Ten championship game kind of celebration there, which was tough to see.
Not the game.
It was the celebration.
Yeah, like walking around, just like
trying to high five the fans. Being a good dude. Like no deed goes unpunished. Like
didn't even know you could get injured doing that. Who knew?
No. But led Division I with 19 TFLs, right? Like lived in the backfield. This is an Indiana defense that lives in the backfield. I think that their defensive structure is actually well suited to have injuries on the defensive line because they do so much through scheme to get guys unblocked. So it's not to discredit him. I think it's more of a credit to how their defense functions. I think that they can certainly overcome that. Their secondary, to me, is what is going to stir the drink. We've watched Ty Simpson, and we've watched him have these high points. We've also watched Ty Simpson go out there and play hero ball. And this is 100% the type of game where he might hold the football and get hit, or he might hold the football and try to force it downfield, which he hasn't been super accurate, and throw it to the wrong football team. So I think it starts on defense. And then when they have the ball, I keep mentioning balance. I think it's such a big deal. They like to run it. They will run it if the run's available. They have to start with the run game. And then Fernando Mendoza has to just settle in, right? We watch sometimes his footwork gets a little bit funky. He'll take some hits early on the game, throw a couple errant passes. He just has to settle in and play his game. He won the Heisman for a reason. But to me, it feels like all of the pressure in this one, even the biggest game in Indiana history, all the pressure is on Alabama because Indiana is the top dog right now.
I would agree with that too, which is strange. And maybe that will flip a little bit as we get closer to game time. One of these teams has been so consistent this year. One of them hasn't. And, you know, it's like, I was talking about this recently about like, you know, hey, why are we getting such, you know, lopsided first round games, or like the games aren't that great? And it's like, well, those games involve teams that are on the bubble, and the bubble teams are not consistent. Like that, you don't know what's going to show up. So you could have a really good showing from them, or you could have a really bad one. And then like the variance is what you're getting. And I think that that's been a huge part of the first round, not just the group of 5 participants. I think that's just like the teams that are playing in those games could be really good or could be really bad. And so for Alabama, like we've seen both of those things. We've seen them when they really, really struggle to move the ball. And we've seen them when they can't run it. We've seen different issues. But then we've seen like what they did after they were down 17-0 against Oklahoma, against a very good defense.
We saw both of the things in the first round.
Both in that game, right? Yes, you saw both sides of Alabama. So I think obviously you're Curt Cignetti, you're prepared for the best. He talked about how he's studied Kalen DeBoer offenses dating back to his time at Washington. So he
studied everybody's offense, by the way.
Well, yeah, he did say that too. He's a film junkie, so he's watching everyone. But I mean, again, like this is part of the reason they're always so prepared, why the defense is always in the backfield. They don't miss assignments. They don't do things like that. So it's very hard to beat those types of teams. You know, the teams that have come close, you know, yes, a Fernando Mendoza interception, mistakes that you don't normally see from them, pressure, right? Hitting him. Those are the things you have to do to have a chance. So that will be an interesting test. And then, yeah, I'm very interested to see what Indiana does defensively. Bryant Haynes was my pick for the Broyles Award. I don't know if they've announced the winner yet, but he was my number 1 in the ballot. I think it's been incredible what he has done with this defense. We talk about some of the linebackers and some of the other levels of the defense. You are talking about guys that started their careers at James Madison. That is a school that very recently was in the FCS, right? Like they were not getting the best of the best athletes. Like they have built up this defense and they deserve a ton of credit for that. So I'm really excited for this game because I'm with you. I do think you kind of have to, when you go through Alabama trying to win a title, it just means something more, it feels right. Like there's a level of respect, I think, through the sport that you had to go through one of the gold standard. Again, it's not Nick Saban, it's a little bit different, but you still have to go through Alabama to get there.
That's right.
Which I think matters. And especially for Indiana, where like these are programs on the opposite ends of the history of the sport. Of course you have to go through Alabama to do it.
Yeah. It's no disrespect to any of the other teams that I'm getting ready to mention, but it would feel weird if they avoided Alabama in the playoffs and their path included, you know, Texas Tech and Ole Miss and Oregon who hasn't won a title, right? Like it feels like in this story that we're writing about this phenomenal season, it only makes sense that they would get one of the preeminent brands of the sports have to go through.
Disney, as they're crafting the Disney movie.
That's right.
Picked Alabama, right? Like it had to be, you know, you had to go through Goliath.
I mean, Disney kind of did put the bracket together, by the way.
That's a good point. Fair point. Fair point. I actually thought about that as I said. I was like, that was probably a bad example.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying though.